Why are we here?
We're here to send a huge message to the government that their persistent attempts to attack our right to strike are not going to happen.
Do you think they'll listen?
I mean, this government never listens until they're forced to do a U-turn. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're here expecting the government to listen, but we're here, you know, on the day that the NEU have just won a strike ballot, in the week that the RCN are going to call more action, in the week that my union has called 18 days of action, to make it clear that regardless of whether or not they're listening, we're not going to stop balloting, we're not going to stop taking strike action, and we're not going to stop fighting for the rights of our members and of working class people. And this government, they are deeply uncomfortable that the general public doesn't share their worldview. And that is why, rather than actually addressing the issue, you know, that millions of people in this country can't afford to pay their rent or heat their homes, they want to deny the right of people taking legitimate strike action away from them or make it harder. They're a government on the ropes, so I don't really care whether or not they're listening, because what we're going to do is make them roll back.
Why is the UCU striking?
So we're striking in universities over pay, but we're also striking over insecure contracts. We've got 100,000 people who work in universities that are on some form of precarious contract. We've got people on burnout workloads. So part of it's about pay, but part of it is the story that so many working people will know that they can't enjoy their lives anymore. You know, that at a weekend they're knackered, or they're constantly reapplying for their job, or they can't afford to sort of start a life. That's why we're striking.
And why should the public support the striking UCU members?
Well, it's worth pointing out that students already do, right? So the people who are sort of most affected overwhelmingly support UCU members when we take strike action. And I think, you know, most people in the UK right now, when polled, support strikers. They know it's expensive to take strike action. You don't get paid. You know what I mean? And I think that people understand unfairness. And I think that, you know, in the UK, people, you know, if they needed a reason to support UCU members, we're the ones that look after whether they're your children or your family members when they're at university and things go wrong. We're the ones that help shape young people into adults. You know, we make a massive difference, and we're sick and tired of being the shock absorbers of a rotten model in education that doesn't suit staff and definitely doesn't suit students.
At the moment, they're just debating the strikes bill in Parliament. How would you describe the bill?
You know, I think the bill is an insult from a government who talk about minimum levels and chronically underfund everything that they're responsible for having some sort of oversight over. You know, a government who talk about, you know, workers undemocratically disrupting services. My union has had ballots open longer than some of these people have been Prime Minister. You know, my union has more branches in it than Rishi Sunak got nominations to be Prime Minister. They don't know anything about democracy, and they don't know anything about what it actually takes to ensure that decent public services are always staffed to a minimum level. You know, we don't see that on a daily basis in our NHS. It's a joke from a government who just have no legitimate right to be trying to enforce a worldview on a country that clearly doesn't want it.
What would you say to workers who are watching this right now?
Join a union, get active in your union, and if you hear someone talking about how workers are disrupting things, ask why workers are doing it, because we're doing it often to make our workplaces, the communities we work in, the services that people use better.
What message would you send to Grant Shapps?
Oh, wow. Get with the real world. You know, stop debating the worker and the trade union that exists in your head. This country is at crisis. People can't pay their bills. People can't heat their homes. And rather than addressing those issues, you're tinkering around with legislation that doesn't need to happen. Get real and, you know, ultimately get unelected.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.